What up, nerds? I'm Bryson. You can call me Bammed, and this is CTF and Cigars by Bam CTF, where I light up a cigar, talk about CTFs, hacking, and other security-related topics. It's been a few weeks. I took a couple weeks off, and then we had some bad weather here in Houston, and yeah, last week was crazy. This week is not much better. I've got some family who are sheltering with me because of damage done to their home from water pipes bursting. They had their ceiling collapse in on them because the bathroom upstairs pipes burst, and yeah, big mess. Anyway, so I've got like 6 extra people in my house right now. You hear toddlers screaming in the background. Hopefully the mic will filter some of that out, but just know that that's what's happening. Anyway, so yeah, it's been a few weeks. Today we're going to go through a Try Hack Me room. We're going to look at some reverse engineering some malware. So I'm probably going to be doing some more malware reversal stuff on here for a bit until the next CTF comes up, or some other topic catches my interest, or if I don't know if anybody wants to see something, hit me up on Twitter and just say, hey, can you look at this thing, and I'll take a look at it. Excuse me. But yeah, we're gonna look at try hack me room, some basic malware reversal, just doing some static analysis today, so not dynamic analysis. We'll talk about that. Before we get to that though, we've got to light a cigar. So this is the cigar I've got today. It is a Camacho. I don't think I've had a Camacho on here before. I like the Camachos, the triple Maduros one. I like to get when I can. They're hard to get hold of nowadays. But anyway, this is a newer one that I haven't had before. Well, hadn't had until I got these. I got a 10-pack, and I had a couple earlier in the week. Pretty good. I like them. This is the Camacho Nicaraguan Barrel-Aged, and it is a Robusto. So this is 5 inches long and a 50 gauge. So this is let's see, this particular cigar. So it's got the Corojo tobacco from the Esteli range that was aged in barrels that previously held Flor de Caña, which is a Nicaraguan rum, for 5 months. So we've got tobacco here that's been aged in rum barrels. It's pretty good. It gives a really good flavor profile. They also apparently have an American barrel aged, which uses a Honduran Corojo tobacco, and but it's aged in Kentucky bourbon barrels. So I'm going to find some of those and try that out as well. So yeah, so it's got the Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. Pretty beautiful wrapper. It's really well crafted cigar. It's covering. There's a Mexican binder inside, and then the filler is Dominican Piloto Cubano. And then there's also a Honduran Corojo Ligero and Barrel Age Esteli Corojo in the filler. So, and then those are the, let's see, the Esteli, the Corojo is what's been aged in the rum barrels, as far as I understand from my reading about it this morning. All right, so let's. I made some notes earlier this week. First thing, give it a sniff. It's nice and it's musky. It's got a really strong oak aroma to it, and the flavor actually there's a lot of oakiness to it as well. But there's also some espresso. You can definitely smell some of that rum. It's kind of sweet, a little leathery, and just a little floral. And let's give it a cut. I'm gonna try the V cut today. So there's my cutter. We'll give it a quick snip. There we go. There's the V cut. My lighter. Okay. Oh, and yeah, let's give it a cold draw. So I don't think I normally do this. The cold draw is when you just suck on it before you light it, to kind of get an idea of what it's going to taste like. So oh, sorry, I had some bits that didn't get cut off that went straight down my throat. Excuse me. Yeah, so little chocolatey, little sweet, more like brown sugar than sugar, so maybe a little bit of maple and oak with the cold draw. And then just some of my notes from earlier in the week. The first third, it starts off really sweet and creamy. There's kind of a creamy oakiness to it, and some sort of like burnt sugar It kind of reminds me of creme brulee. Ooh, that's good. Yeah, and then so on the retrohale, that's when you exhale through your nostrils. Little bit more sort of peppery, a little bit of black pepper. That you get some of that burnt sugar sweetness to it. Also a bit of some dark chocolates, a little earthy, coffee, and yeah, there's a hint of rum in there. Yeah, real strong pepper on the retrohale. And then because I tried doing the cigar review as I go, but I'm going to forget because I'm going to get all distracted by the hacks. So just going over my notes from earlier in the week. So the second third, you get some more, or sorry, that burnt sugar and peppery kick. It kicks it up a notch a little bit. So you get that little stronger. The creamy oakness is a real strong flavor through the whole thing, and then you've got some hay, bitter espresso, roasted nuts, and it gets kind of leathery. It starts off pretty mild, but then definitely as you get through that second third, it becomes like a solid medium strength. And I'm getting notifications on my okay. Mute that. Okay, then we get to so it gets stronger. It's a pretty solid medium strength cigar, I would say. It get maybe a little bit stronger in the final third, but not much. So I would call it a medium. But on that final third, you still got that creamy oakness as the dominant flavor. But the burnt sugar and the black pepper kind of dissipate a little bit. But it's still leathery, dark chocolate. And that floral aroma from the beginning kind of that kind of works its way back into the flavor as well. So, all right, let's look at some hacks today. So, what we're doing today, I went through and found a malware reverse engineering room on TryHackMe and thought we'd give that a look. Now, I was considering just doing this cold and not looking at it beforehand, but I chickened out, so I've already looked at these. But anyway, let's take a look at this room. So this is the basic Malware RE room in TryHackMe. If you've got a TryHackMe subscription, you can log in and you can check it out right now. They put it at a medium difficulty. So there's several ways we could analyze the samples here, but this room is specifically about learning static analysis techniques. So we're going to load it in some disassemblers, but we're not going to actually debug it. So when you're reverse engineering some malware, you're trying to figure out how the malware works. There's a couple things you want to do. One is static analysis, so you don't actually run the malware, you don't actually debug it, you just disassemble it. And use some other tools to look at information about it, look at strings, but look at the headers, the different PE headers, and look at the imports to figure out what kind of capabilities the malware has. So the imports, that would be the different files, the different DLLs and functions that it's importing and it's calling. So you can kind of see if it's calling a function related to RC4, then you know that the malware is using RC4 encryption, for example. Probably it's very common for malware to use RC4 or when they're encrypting their config. So a lot of malware, you get it, it calls C2 server, the C2 server sends it a config with some more instructions, and that's often encrypted using RC4. Is just it's I don't know, it's a common thing you'll see in malware. Anyway, but you could tell that by looking at the imports. So that's some stuff you can do with the static analysis. But then dynamic analysis is when you actually load it in debugger, or just run it and see what it does. So, but yeah, you're loading it in a debugger and you're stepping through and you're setting breakpoints and seeing what the malware is actually doing that way. But yeah, today we're just going to be looking at some static analysis. So let's go ahead and get through this room. So there's 3 samples. The password for each of them is malware tech. We've gone ahead and completed this section. So the next one, and these are all pretty much the same. Each sample, if you execute it, it's just going to print out an MD5 hash to screen. But what we want to do on the static analysis is we're not going to run the malware. So we're going to figure out what that string is without running it. All right, so the question is, what is the MD5 hash? And I think all 3 of these, it's the same question. There's just different samples. So we can download the file. I've already done that. And let's go ahead and switch over to my malware analysis box. All right, so for malware analysis, I'll talk briefly about how I've got things set up. I'm using Flare VM. So this is something that FireEye developed. I probably should have pulled their site up. I'll Google it real quick while I talk about it. But yeah, Flare VM. It's just a collection of tools that it's a large collection of tools that have everything you need for malware analysis, and you can install it all via a PowerShell script. So all right, here it is. I found it on GitHub. You can Google it, RTFM. But yeah, anyway, so this is it, developed by FireEye. They've got a brief description here. Here's our changelog. And then as far as installation, you download the install script. You have to, allow execution in PowerShell and then run it. Give it a password and come back a few hours later and you'll have Flare VM set up. So it works best for a new install of Windows. And where'd my window go? Sorry, somebody was asking a question. Do I ever only do static analysis, or am I getting more into reverse engineering? I do both. I don't. Yes, sometimes I guess just static analysis works. Depends on how complicated the malware is, or what we're looking at. Like Word documents, for example. If you've got Emotet, when it was still around, Emotet's been shut down if you haven't heard. But a lot of times the dropper that they would use would be a malicious Word document, and you could very easily just do some static analysis and figure out what that was doing. You didn't actually have to run it because it was just a VB scripts in the background, and everything you need you could get from that. There was no point in running it. So I guess it depends on what the malware is. That's the only thing I'm thinking of right now. A lot of .NET stuff, if it's not horribly obfuscated. Actually, I think I have a sample. If we have time and I'm feeling generous, we might take a look at that as well and just kind of look at how you can reverse or do just some static analysis on that as well. But yeah, back to Flare VM. Just a brief list here. Here's the list of all the tools that come with it. So once you run this PowerShell, you've got some Android tools. You've got several debuggers, decompilers, Delphi, some developer tools, disassemblers, .NET, Auto IT Extractor, Flash forensics, hex editors, Java, so on and so forth. The list, there's so much. It's pretty much everything that you need for malware analysis in one package, or one script anyway, installs all that, all the Python modules you're going to need as well. It's all there, and other. Anyway, so that's what I'm using for malware analysis, and the way I've got it set up, we've got an AWS environment, and I made a custom AMI that's got Flare VM, and then I set up the security group so that it's only allowing RDP from my IP address. That's the only input that's allowed, and then the only output on the network side that is allowed is or the only outbound network traffic would be a connection to the S3 bucket, which I use for sending malware to the system. So I'll copy it, I'll get the malware, I'll upload it to our S3 bucket, and then copy it from S3 to this box. And it's an AMI, so every time I use it, I make a new instance, and when I'm done, I can shut it down. So there's no worry about any malware running in the background that's left over. I don't have to really worry about snapshots. If I was doing this locally, I'd use your VirtualBox or VMware or whatever you want to use for virtualization, and make a clean snapshot and reload from that. But I think there's less risk loading it in the cloud, at least less risk for me. And then you want to make sure you've got all that outbound network traffic disabled, especially if you're doing it in the cloud, because if you've got malware calling out, then AWS is going to be contacting you and tell you to clean up your stuff. And then the next time it happens, they're going to be even more insistent, and you're going to have to explain to them why you're still hosting malware. So yeah, you want to make sure you disable that. And on your local system, if you're doing it again with like VMware or VirtualBox, you want to disable the network card before you actually do any analysis, because you don't want to spread malware. You want to control that. If you want to do some, actually connect to C2 servers and see what they're doing, that's fine. That's perfectly valid technique that you might do when you're doing some malware analysis. But you want to be able to control that, and you want to know what it's doing beforehand, and you're not going to just let the malware do what it wants. That's the main thing, is you need to be in control. And so until you know what's going on, you don't let the malware do its thing. All right. So we've got sample one here. I need to extract it. I'll just extract it here. Let's see, the password was malware tech. All right, so here's our sample. I'm going to say a good technique also is modifying the extension so it doesn't automatically run when you don't want it to. All right, so a couple things to start off with. Just kind of looking at what the file does. I'll take a look at it in PE Studio. So we've got some hashes, some samples, first few bytes. We can see this MZ, which is the magic numbers of the first few bytes of a file. It tells you what type of file it is. This tells us it's a Windows executable. Uh-oh, thought I had that disabled. Gonna have to. That's something else to watch out for. You don't want your malware that you're analyzing getting. There we go. You don't want to lose it because of your AV solution. Okay, so yeah, let's see. We've got an imp hash. We've got an entropy level. So the entropy level is interesting to look at. Helps you decide whether or not the file is packed. So one of the obfuscation techniques, in order to make things harder on analysts who are trying to analyze their stuff, malware authors will often pack their stuff, so you won't be able to pull out strings, for example, from it because it's been packaged up in a format that increases entropy and not. I mean, sometimes part of it might be encrypted, but most of it's more like just compressed, and it's proprietary stuff. Anyway, but the entropy is not too high, so it's probably not packed. We can see it did trigger some indicators, so PE Studio does go ahead and check for a couple things. So the number of imports is suspicious. Yeah, there's some other things here. Nothing too. Yeah, nothing too crazy there. Let's see. So let's have a look at string. So since we're looking for a string that is going to output, this is a good place to look. Now we look at this, and yeah, so we can see It looks like they're relying on security by obscurity. We've got a long list of strings here, these flags, and I imagine one of these is what's going to be MD5'd, and that's going to be the flag that we're looking for. So what we want to do is figure out which one of these it is. Yeah, it's a long list. So I guess if we wanted to be lazy about it, but take a really, really long time, we could extract all these, MD5 sum them, and then test them one at a time in TryHackMe and see if it worked. But of course, that's not what we're going to do. Here's the import, so we can see. So there's the the DLLs are coming from and the functions that were called. There's not much. Memcopy, memset, exit, sprintf, and then message box A. That's all that's being called. We can see the DLLs they're coming from as well. That's not very many. Normally, actually, if I saw that few imports, I would think it might be packed. Because the only actual imports you'll see in a packed binary are the few that are needed to unpack it. And even that, they'll just to get the unpacking process started, and then as it unpacks bits of it, it might import more things and then unpack more bits. So but yeah, this we know it's not, partially because I've looked at, also because we have all these strings. You don't see all these strings like this in a packed binary. Okay, now let's gonna fire up IDA. So IDA's usually where I go to, either IDA or Ghidra. I think we'll use Ghidra on the last one. But let's take a look at this and see how it does. But when I'm doing static analysis, that's usually where I'll start. And it's been a few days since I've done this, so it's almost like I'm doing it cold, because I'm sure I don't remember what I did last time. All right, go ahead and import that. All right, so it's done some loaded the file, and we kind of look to see what's going on. So starting the function, we're defining a variable here. So this is a D word. It's a pointer. So we've got some text. We've got a pointer to some text here. We're defining, and then we're just setting up our stack. So we're going to push EBP to the top of the stack. That's the base pointer, and then we're moving ESP to EBP. ESP is the stack pointer. We're going to push ECX to the top of the stack. Okay, so we've got and there we go. So we're moving this value. So it's got this off 432294, moving that to EAX. Then we're going to push EAX to the top of the stack. So we're not pushing there should be a this is the pointer. So we're pushing the memory address to this this text. So this is the offset in that long string to the specific one that we want, and we can see it here. It's giving us the answer, which is the flag. Can I make it any more obvious? Anyway, then it pushes that pointer to EAX, and then it calls the MD5 function here. So we can guess, if we don't look it up, we can pretty much guess that when you call this MD5 function, what it's going to do is it's going to essentially generate an MD5 sum based on the EAX. So whatever the memory address in EAX, which is going to be that's going to be at the top of the stack. So it's the value at the top of the stack is going to be a memory address that's a pointer to a string that we're then going to MD5. All right, we're gonna add extra 4 bytes to the to ESP. Yeah, we're moving EAX to EBP plus LP text. pushing the value 30, and okay, so this is all part of the user32.dll for the message box A. So we're setting up all the variables for that. So we've got the actual value of the MD5 sum, which, okay, so that, yeah, that when that function returns, it's going to return a new memory address in EAX. Again, I'm guessing here because this is static, but just based on what I'm seeing, this seems like the logical process of what's happening. And so EAX is going to be the pointer to the MD5 string. We're adding that to the stack. So we're using the base pointer plus LP text, adding it to the stack, and then this is putting 30, so that's hex 30 to the top of the stack. So that's a U type. So this is probably a variable or a variable that the message box A needs. Then we set the caption. All right, moving that to ECX, setting another variable here to 0, and then we call the message box A, which is going to generate the text box, which would give us our answer if we were to just run it and be lazy. But all right, so but we know now that this is so flag. Can I make it any more obvious? So if we want to get the actual string, we need to MD5 that. And let's be lazy and just have CyberChef do it for us. So let's go to CyberChef. And I suppose I should switch screens. There we go. So let's see, that was flag. Can I make it any more obvious? All right, let me... Did I do that right? Can I make it any more obvious? Yep, that looks right. So let's MD5 that. Let's see if this string works. Uh-oh, that's wrong. All right, did I make a typo? I wonder if it doesn't need the... Oh, I did make a typo. Look at that. Okay, let's try that. Misspelt flag. Nope, that's not right either. Okay, so I know this is the right answer. It's just a matter of getting the right format here. Nope. All right. So I have another typo. Let's go back. Oh, actually, let me look at this again. Okay, so the answer... Oh, you know what? Maybe I should read the instructions. It's actually not looking for the MD5. It's looking for the string that generates the MD5. Okay, so that was flag. Did it again. I don't know why I can't spell flag today. When all else fails, RTFM. There we go. Okay, so it's not looking for the MD5. It's looking for the string that generates the MD5. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I guess that does actually make a lot more sense, because if you really wanted to just get the MD5, you could just run the file. Let's do that just so you see what that looks like. All right, we're done with IDA. I don't need to save this. Okay, so let's change this actually to an exe file. We run it. There we go. So we get, okay, so that's actually the MD5 that I had. All right, so I had that right. I just wasn't inputting the right data into the box. Okay. Now we know. Read the instructions. Okay, so let's move on to the second one. So that solves the answer for the first one. That was really simple. Let's look at the second one. All right, so extract it. The password is malware tech. All right, here's number 2. So we'll just do the same thing. So let's see. We'll take a look in PE Studio. Looks pretty similar. Low entropy. We've got, you know, the hashes. It's a PE file. Similar things are being triggered here for the indicators. Yeah, it looks like the same imports. And we're looking through the strings here, and okay, so we don't have a long list of strings in this one like we did in the last one. All right, so this is going to be somewhat different. Let's take a look in IDA and figure out what this one's doing. So strings 2, there we go. Okay. Yeah. All right, so we start off again. We're defining our function, we're starting a function here. We're setting a number of variables. So we've got variable 28, 27, 26, blah blah blah, and then we get to f. So yeah, this is all in hex down to variable 5, and then we have the LP text at the end. So last variable. Now what we're doing, okay, so all these are pointers. Yeah, we're starting, yeah, at the, each, all right, so they're, okay, they're bytes, they're pointers. All right, so each of these are going to be 1 byte. And it looks like we're starting from the stack, and we're going down 1 byte at a time, essentially. Then let's keep going down. I'm having, okay, I need to full screen this. It's doing weird things with my scroll. Okay, that's better. All right, so here we are setting up the stack again. So we're pushing EBP, ESP to EBP. We're subtracting 28 from ESP. And then what we're doing is we're going through and we're assigning. So we're assigning all the variables into, or values into all the variables, or the locations of variables we define. So the first is 46 hex. That's going into EBP plus var28. So var28 would be the memory address, which was minus 28 hex. So we're doing this in so big Indian. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track here. Anyway, we're just assigning variables or values to the variables we define, putting them on the stack 1 byte at a time, and building it up to the top of the stack. So we start off with 46, 4C, 41. So all these look like they're in the ASCII character range. So I'm guessing if we just go through one by one and convert these to decimal, then we've got our string. So let's try that. Let's go back to, we'll just do this in CyberChef as well. I'd do a lot of these, we would extract them and probably write a script for it, but we'll just be lazy here. All right, so we don't need MD5. We do need... There we go. We need that, and there's Cyber Chef. Okay, so we've got 46, 4C, 41, and actually we can see this coming to life. There we go. So it looks like we're typing out flag. So yeah, this seems like this is what we want to do. 47, 7B, 53, 54, 41, 43, 4B, 2D, 53, 54, 52. I'm sure it's fun sitting here watching me name off numbers and lose track every few seconds. Okay, where was I? So we got 4E, 47. Okay, 52, 49, 4E, 47. All right, 53, 2H, nope, 2D, 41, 52, 45, 2D. It's stack strings R. Yeah, we're definitely decoding something here. 53, almost done. 54, 2D, 53, 54, 52, 49, 4E, 47, 53, and last but not least, 7D. All right, so the answer is stack strings are best strings. Because that's what we did. We loaded strings onto the stack one byte at a time. All right, now let's double check our work here. Put that in there and success. All right, so those two were pretty straightforward. The third one's a little more interesting, but there's actually some simple ways to get around it too. So let's go back to our analysis box. And extract file number 3. Now just extract here. Yeah. All right. Password again is malware tech. All right. We'll take a look at it in PE Studio just again to see what's going on. A lot of the same kind of stuff here. There are a couple of more imports here. So we've got this find resource and oh, notice when I hover over that, there's actually a link. So if I wanted to look up the documentation, so it doesn't actually link directly to that particular API call. So yeah, these are Windows API calls for the most part that we're looking at. They should be pretty well documented, but it's really just going to pull up the MSDN site and do a search for us. But anyway, so we should be able to find some documentation here if we wanted to, as well as the load strings A. But yeah, we're not going to do that right now. We can see in the strings that again, there's a lot of strings here, and yeah, we've got another long list of possibilities here, and these actually kind of overlap a bit as well. Yeah, it doesn't quite look the same as the last one, but yeah, there's still a long list of strings that could be possible answers. So let's pull this up in IDA. All right. So yeah, this one we can see is it's not as simple as the last few we've looked at. It's a bit more complicated. It's not terrible, but it is a little bit more than before. So we've got a number of variables we're defining here. We've got a buffer, we've got our destination. Again, we've got the LP text, which I believe same as we've seen it used before, which is actually where the final MD5 string is going to be saved when the message box pops up. A couple of other variables here, and then a UID. All right, we set up our stack. Okay, so we're going to subtract 4A0 from ESP. So we're expanding our stack. We're giving ourselves 4A0 hex, which is like what is it, 1100 something like that. Let's go to pull up our calculator here. So in hex, let's see, what was that again? 4A0. Yeah, so 1184. So we got a 1184 bytes that we're setting up in our stack. We've got this EBP plus var98. Gonna load that. Sorry, we're getting the address, so that's the load effective address of EBP plus var98 to ECX, and then we're calling this MD5 function. Now there's a couple of MD5 functions that we're calling. This one is just MD5 avoid. So this is basically just setting what's the word? We're essentially initializing it. Yeah. Anyway, we're building our buffer. We're going to push 3FF to the top of the stack. That's the size. So let's see, 3FF. Oops, I had to clear my last results. All right, so that's okay. That's 1023. So we've got a 1023 byte buffer. Or sorry, the value 1023 is pushed to the top of the stack, and then the value 0, and then we're getting the address for EBP plus des. So that's this variable up here. Going to push that to the top of the stack. Nope, wrong line. We're loading the effective address of that, and then we're going to push that to EAX. Then we're going to call memset, doing more stuff on the stack. Okay, all of this, and then we get to this function, find resource A. So what I think is probably going on here, we've got that long list of strings, and what we're doing is loading all that to the stack, and then we're defining an offset, or we're, yeah, essentially all this is to find the string that we're looking for in that based on the offset. Now we could go through and try to calculate the offset, find that list, and locate it, and that's probably something I would do more in dynamic analysis, because then we can actually like directly interact with the stack. But instead, to make this easier, we're gonna load this up in Ghidra. All right, so we give Ghidra a minute to initialize here. Since this is a new VM, so I just fired this up this morning. I don't think Ghidra's loaded or been launched on this particular instance before. Yeah, so take a minute to load. All right, we need to make a new project. That would not help. Let's just call it Try Hack Me. All right. Launch the main Hydra window here, and then we can import our file. So I dropped that on the desktop, strings 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to let Ghidra do some analysis for us. And I think it will actually find the value that we're looking for and just tell us what it is. Nope, no network access. All right, let's analyze it now. Analyze. Okay. All right, so let's see. We've got our... Nope, where'd it go? Okay, all that's loaded. We can see over here, it's kind of decompiled it for us. So we can see what it's doing, you know, the variables that are being defined. Yeah, there's a lot of variables being used. But let's find our endpoint, or entry point. Let's see, I just had it. Yeah, give me a minute. I don't use Ghidra very often. Let's find our code here. That's what we're calling message box. Yeah, okay, what am I doing? That's what I want to do. That's what I'm looking for. All right, so there's our entry point. Let's see, define, okay. There we go. This is starting to look familiar now. Yeah, so we're setting up our stack. This is where we call that MD5, where we're just initializing it. All right. Yeah, we're going to do find resource A. And then, yeah, here's when it actually loads the string. So we've looked in, and we've loaded all that data into our stack. We've found it. We've got the string. We're going to load that, and then what Ghidra does for us is it's actually giving us the... It's analyzed it for us, and it's done what I described before, where we've got an offset. We've got a large bulk of data loaded to the stack, and then we've got an offset of where the specific string we're looking for is located. It's actually going to find it for us, so we can just copy that. Sorry for any of that background noise. That's part of the drawbacks of doing this cigar thing, is I have to do it outside. All right, we clean up some of this here. Let's see if this works. So resources are popular for malware. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, those pretty decent challenges. If you've never done some static analysis, this is I think this room is a good place to start. It's not too complicated if you've done it before, but if you're brand new to it, it's a great place to kind of learn how to do some of this. It's sort of like a Crack Me, but it's written a bit more like malware. And yeah, that's it. It's been about an hour now. I'm gonna look around and see what other malware rooms Try Hack Me has. We might try some more of those, but I'm thinking next time I may actually take a real malware sample, and we'll just pick that apart and see what we find. So I think that is it for now. Yeah, that's it. So tune in next time. Probably we'll do this again next week. I'm gonna try to get back to a regular schedule after my 3 weeks off. I think it was 3 weeks. And then yeah, next week we'll find some malware and we'll pick it apart and see what it does. Yeah. So thanks for watching. I guess if you want to like and subscribe or whatever, I don't care. Do what you want. But yeah, till next time, if you're in a CTF or just kind of anything generally in life and you find yourself get stuck, don't forget 3 golden rules. Don't panic, try harder, and always RTFM. Thanks. See you next time.
It's a madman, the madman's fight.